Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 4 of the Roma Forum podcast. My name is Anthony, and as always, I'm joined by Christian and Luca. But today, we have a very special guest, Peter Colonna Romano, the Vice President of Roma Club Philadelphia. So we'd like to
Boys, thank you for having me. I feel honored and privileged to join you guys. I want to compliment the three of you for your perseverance in having me appear on the show for only the 4th episode. I know it's a great honor to have me, and I am equally honored to be here with you.
It is an honor. It's like talking to Roma fan royalty.
And your grandfather all at the same time. It's great.
I mean, that is not inaccurate, Anthony, but thank you guys for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, awesome. Speaking of Roma fan royalty, just to give people a little bit of an idea, like what's your Roma background? How did you come to support Roma?
Well, Anthony, I want to take you back to 1982.
Amazing.
When I was a young boy, no older than Christian, the Italian national team was coming off a World Cup win in Spain. And while we remember that World Cup for Paolo Rossi, at the time, before the MVP award was created, it unofficially went to Bruno Conti, who was my first man crush. And the reason I started following Roma, and the reason that I fell in love with this sport. Fast forward 10 months, and we are winning our second Scudetto in 1983. And you can imagine a little kid living in Rome, coming off a World Cup win and the second Scudetto. 40 years ago, Rome was no different than it is today. The city is yellow and red, and there was no particular moment I became a Roma fan. Roma chose me; I didn't choose them.
Mm-hmm.
And supporting another team, loving another team, it was never an option. I never sat down with a Panini album or watching Domenica Sportiva and saying, "Oh, I like this team. Oh, I like that team." It was quite figuratively born into me. It's the only team I've ever known. It's the only team I've ever cared about.
Mm-hmm.
Tutto qua.
Wow. No, that's really awesome. And you mentioned Bruno Conti as your first man crush. You had the privilege, and this, to grow up in like the golden age of Roma. Bruno Conti and Agostino, whose birthday just passed. I mean, do you have a favorite memory? Let's say besides the second Scudetto and besides the third Scudetto, is there a favorite memory you have maybe in Rome, living in Rome, growing up there, of Roma?
My first derby was in 1985. And the crowd trouble we talk about today,
mm-hmm.
It paled in the comparison to what was going on in the early and mid 80s. But I was determined to go to a derby as a little kid. And my father obviously was more than happy to take me. But my mother, my grandparents were begging him not to take me. And, we went. Looking back, it was a 0-0 tie. But I could not tell you one thing about the game. All I remember is the Sud. The tambourines, the smoke bombs, the incessant singing. It was that's back when Vecchio Cooks was not even that old.
Mm-hmm.
They were only 10 or 13 years old back then. Yeah. So it was just Cooks, not Vecchio Cooks, and it was that would be the moment that I remember the most. And unfortunately it's a fleeting memory, but the sounds are what stick with you. And we're going on, what is that, 40 years now or so?
Yeah.
And it's indescribable feeling.
Yeah. Well, now it's Vecchio Cooks and Vecchio Peter. I think
It is. It is.
I think we wanted to start this off with your thoughts on the Juve match this past weekend, the 1-1 draw.
Well, Anthony, I was disappointed.
Mhm.
Not so much in the result. I was disappointed in the lack of ambition I saw.
Mhm.
Ranieri left all the initiative to Juve. I thought we absorbed them relatively well the first 20, 30 minutes, but we did very little positive.
Mhm.
And it's upsetting because I think that Juventus team is trash.
Mhm.
One of the worst we've seen in the last, probably since after Calciopoli.
Mhm.
And I think the fact that Shomurodov was able to equalize after 10 minutes?
Yep.
We needed to do more. And I understand Borelli's going to say, oh, we don't have Dybala. And that's true. But I wanted to see more heart and I wanted to see more ambition. And it was very upsetting to me to hear Ranieri after the game saying, if you can't win it, you can't lose it. And I think that's a very cynical way to play. That was a point that Juventus could use. It meant very little to us. Our backs are up against the wall.
Mhm.
If we lose any more points from here through the end of the season, realistically, any shot at Champions League is over.
Mhm.
And again, even without Dybala, I wanted to see more positive football from the guys, and I didn't see that.
Mhm.
And the opportunity was there, and we didn't take it.
Yep. No, I mean, you're right. And before I turn it over to Christian and Luca for their comments, I mean, absorbed is kind of like an understatement because they had 60% of the possession in the game, which is like, I mean, we look like Lecce when you give up 60% of the possession. They were uninspired. You know, it's even more heartbreaking when you hear Ranieri say, you know, if you can't win, you can't lose. But we had more big chances created. Our XG was higher than Juve's, but we lacked the killer mindset. When you have the opportunity to go out and kill Juve, you have to. You can't do them favors and give them a point. Like, you have to look at this. This is make or break. So anyway, I think you're right. You know, Christian and Luca, feel free to share any of your thoughts. And
Yeah, like I don't know, for me, I, with Peter on this one, in terms of I was a little disappointed in terms of the team's output. I feel like we could have done a lot better in terms of, finishing and just being in the final third. Like, was in the first half, Cristante had that clear-cut chance, and I guess I know he's not our left footer, but like that shot with his left foot was essentially a pass to Di Gregorio net. But like, come on,
Mhm.
that could have easily been a goal for us. I remember that stood out to me. Um, I mean, it's the same story every week with Dovbyk. We said it last week. We said it the week before. The guy's lazy. He ball watches. He waits. He did the same thing this week against Juve. So again, no surprise. Um, when Eldor Shomorodov comes on, it's like a spark of energy. But it's very simple. He plays with his back to the goal. He acts as a support to his midfielders. He plays with more enthusiasm, in my opinion. And his numbers and results kind of back that. I thought Kone had a pretty decent game. He had the ball quite a bit. He was rated pretty high from what I remember post game. He had a lot of ball carrying. He did quite a bit, but yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't say that we deserve to win by much, but we also didn't deserve to lose. So I would say it ties fair in terms of what we provided on the pitch and what Ranieri's mission was this past Sunday. So
Mhm.
that's my take on Juve at least. But I wouldn't say we should have, like I said, I wouldn't say we deserved a massive win, but we definitely didn't deserve to lose because we defended half decently well with what we had. But and again, like what Peter said, our backs are against the wall in terms of the points that we have now for the final remaining matches for the fight for top four. We can't be dropping any more points.
Mhm. Luca, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, to be quite honest with you, I was for all those listening, I'm newly a dad, so I was in between changing some dirty diapers, which is my new life now. But one thing I will say is, and I will also say, he is our newest Romanista. So
There we go.
Yeah.
just like Peter, he'll grow up one. Probably not in Rome, maybe in Mongolia. We'll see. But one thing I can say for certain is every single week watching Cristante out on the pitch makes me want to take a knife and stick it in my ass. I mean, it's just so brutal. And as soon as the French dude that we just picked up, Corna Duoth, however you say it. I mean, he may not have been highly rated, but it seemed like as soon as he came on for Cristante, or maybe he didn't come on. Yeah. At least in the midfield, it was a little more solidified. I don't know. I mean,
he's quicker. He's got more energy. Cristante,
yeah,
old,
and maybe he pairs better with Kone. But at least, again, Pacier makes passes that don't look like my 7-day-old son is making that. I mean, it's just he's like Peter. I mean, when he says that Pellegrini on the pitch is basically us down a man, I feel like when the both of them are on the pitch together, we're down 2 men, and then add Dovbyk in there and we're down 3 because the guy just. I mean, if we're gonna play like we play when Shomurodov is in there, why not start with him in? I mean, it's very frustrating every single week, and I know we've had a phenomenal past 3 months in terms of results, but when it matters most, why not stick with something that that works as opposed to trying to just come up with trying to give Dovbyk confidence that he doesn't have. It seems like put him in Eldor's spot in the second half or whatever if nothing's happening, and then let him stand in front of the goal and have him tap it in with his left foot from 3 inches out. So
yeah.
If I can add on to what Luca just said, and I think this is the best snapshot of just how unfortunate the situation is. If we're all advocating for Eldor Shomurodov to be our starting number 9, we're in trouble.
Well, I said the
We're
same
in
thing
trouble.
2 weeks ago. Who would have thought in 2025 we'd be discussing Shomurodov being a starting for Roma?
And they just renewed it 2 years.
Absolutely. It's in Italy they say ridimensionamento. We have different objectives if Shomurodov is our starting forward.
This is absolutely true.
I love his hustle. I love his work ethic. But the goal he scored against Juve, did everyone see he almost missed that from a yard out?
What did I say in the group chat? If he hit the bar, I would have called for his head.
Yeah. I mean, that's where we are.
it also makes me wonder, and I don't know if we are getting to this later, but if we're re-signing Shomurodov for another 2 years, it makes me wonder who we're looking at for manager.
No, yeah. I mean, I was going to ask Peter this question. The way Roma played, the lack of killer mindset, the lack of finishing or the ability to finish on and off the pitch. I mean, what is this a symptom of in the club? Like, what does this tell us? Because what happens on the pitch reflects what happens off the pitch, in the administration, in the locker room. So what do you think? What is this? What are we seeing right now? It doesn't seem good.
We're navigating by sight, from what I can tell. I have a tremendous amount of respect for the Friedkins because their heart is in the right place, but they have been horribly inept in the way they have guided this club. Do you remember back in November when Ranieri got here and we were starting to show a little bit of progress, and we were told the January transfer market would have been directed by the new coach? Remember, Lina Sulukolu, whatever her name is, left back in October, and here we are in April. We don't have what used to be known as a DG, Direttore Generale, now a CEO. Him or her is missing. We still don't have a coach for next year. And everything, from what I can discern, we have no idea who it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
How many times do you have to ask a 73-year-old retiree to stay out of retirement to coach? He said he's not going to do it. We don't want him to do it.
Mm-hmm.
He's the tinker man. He comes in to fix stuff. We don't want to start the year with him, or we're wasting another year.
Mm-hmm.
But there was one more thing I wanted to say, and it's gotten very little attention on this side of the Atlantic. Both Ghisolfi and Ranieri said our next two transfer markets are completely hamstringed by financial fair play.
Mm-hmm.
Without any quality signings, don't expect Allegri. Ancelotti is just a dick tease. These are not names. These are not serious names if we're going to run it with Shomurodov and Guarnaduaf, you know? So I think as, Romanisti, we're, eternally deluded thinking that we can compete. And the truth is we have no coach. We have no DG. Our best player is out until August. And we have essentially no flexibility on the transfer market for the next two sessions. So why are we talking about Mancini and Allegri?
It's true.
If someone like De Zerbi comes, we're lucky.
Mm-hmm.
You're absolutely right. Spot on, honestly. I'm surprised that we're doing as good as we are with what we have.
It sounds like the end of the world to me when Peter's talking.
But Luca said the same. Luca said it, what was it, last week or the week before? The results that we've had in the last 2-3 months are very Italian results. Well, 1 or 2 goal leads, 1-0, 2-1. It's nothing monumental or nothing that would frighten an opponent the following week. We're kind of just scraping by. We're not playing champagne football by any means. We're not playing horrible, but we're not playing at a level that is competitive for Champions League. If that's what we're competing for.
To be fair, I mean that argument is, in my opinion, just null and void. I mean, at the end of the day, you're getting results, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I would much rather get a 1-0, win.
Yeah, a win's a win.
2-1 win, as opposed to getting blown out or losing 2-1 each week.
Yeah, I mean,
100%.
Think about Roma. What was it? 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we were up 3-1 against Juve, and then they scored 3 goals in 7 minutes.
Yeah,
and we lost. So, if we're talking about teams that are fighting for the Champions League, the way Roma is playing, they don't belong in the same conversation right now. However, if we're talking about Roma right now compared to Roma last year or 2 years ago or 3 years ago, Roma 2-3 years ago very easily loses some of these games, I think. And we go back to the drawing board and we put more excuses out there. I mean, with that being said, with how bleak it sort of looks, at least for the next, 1, 2, 3 seasons. I mean, Peter, where does this rank for you in terms of somber moments under presidents at Roma?
After the second Scudetto, and prior to the second Scudetto, we had what was known as Rometta, the Little Rome, where the derby was the one and only reason we played the season.
Mm-hmm.
We had no ambitions for Europe. We had no ambitions for the Scudetto. And it's really the high points in our history are the aberrations. The truth is when you compare to the big clubs in Italy and the big clubs in Europe, what we have is the fan base, and that's all. Totti carried us for the better part of 2 decades.
Mm-hmm. Almost.
And, when he had to step aside, Sabatini kept us alive. since he left, it has been a downward spiral. Only, I'm being a little ingenuous here because we have had some small satisfactions.
Mm.
You know, we made the Europa League semifinal with Paulo Fonseca.
Mm-hmm.
Then we won the Conference League. Then in another semifinal. Then we go back to Di Francesco. We even made a Champions League semifinal. But, we're peanut butter with no jelly, ham with no burger. We're incapable of putting together 9 months of solid football. What Ranieri has done has been nothing short of incredible. And I don't know if you boys remember the last time he was here. He entered for Spalletti after the 3rd or 4th week
Yeah.
when we got spanked by Juventus at home. And he took us 1 game from the Scudetto. If it wasn't for goddamn Cassano and Pazzini, that was ours. But it just shows you we're always playing catch up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is where we are again because we don't have a coach. The transfer window is going to be done that last week of August, and we're going to find ourselves in the same position.
Rinse and repeat, baby.
You said it, Christian. It's a lack of leadership, I think, and a lack of planning.
Mm-hmm.
Luca, how many projects have we had since in the last 10 years? How many can you name me?
10?
Seems like 10.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
We've been in the basement since friggin' Pallotta. Before Pallotta. Since he's left.
But do you think that would change if a bigger named manager comes?
No.
Like, do you think the Friedkins will just say, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just go all out and we'll pay for the consequences.
Yeah, like let's get suspended from Europe. Does it really
Yeah.
matter? That's like sort of the mindset they'd have to have.
Yeah, but we had a big coach. We had Mourinho, the biggest face in coaching. Now, you're
Yeah.
gonna have some people saying, "What are you talking about? He won us a Conference League trophy." I
And
think we're on the same page that the
And
Conference
he
League
lost
trophy
to
isn't.
Anthony Taylor in a final.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not taking it away from him. It's just we can't be changing coaches every other season. There's no chemistry. There's no core. When the nucleus of the team keeps changing every other season, what do you expect? We're lucky to be above 8th place.
Or the other side is that we are in this shitty spot and the nucleus of the team is still here, like Pellegrini.
Well,
And
I was going to say, I think what actually makes this time different is the willingness of the club to part from the more problematic parts. I think the club.
Although, are they though? Because
I
isn't
think so.
Gasparini's?
I think if Milan says give us Pellegrini for Salamakers, they say yes.
Yeah, but wasn't Gasparini's request to get rid of basically to clear house?
I don't believe that.
And Roma said
no. I don't believe that.
Okay.
I don't think if that meeting even happened. I don't even know. I don't think anybody can know what was being said. But I think
the Italian media.
Yeah, I mean it's worse than New York. Yeah.
I don't know what we can believe, but without the club being strong structurally, with a real front office and real management, a coach is only going to go so far. Say Gasparini came. He loses 3 in a row. No one to protect him. Us 4 bozos and the rest of the fan base go berserk. We sack him. And then what are we calling Ranieri again to save us?
Oh,
yeah.
Look at the big clubs. Inter. They taught Marotta and they're cooking, as you would say, Anthony.
Yeah.
Juventus, historically, it is the club that comes first. They dumped Del Piero with no problem. They dumped Bonucci with no problem. And we're here clinging to Pellegrini. Ma che cazzo ha mai fatto per noi? Dai.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. We had Totti, we had De Rossi. They're not coming around again. If Gasparini really said to clear house, I would clear house. There's not one player on this team that we need to start a new project, let's say. We
Svilar,
may be emotionally attached to some. Mancini, for instance, we all love him. Do I really need him to start a new cycle? No.
I think Svilar is someone that you hang on to if you're starting a new cycle.
Absolutely. Instead, we're signing, extending Shomurodov.
Yeah.
That's bad. Yeah.
Anyways, what do we think about Lazio coming up this weekend? They're up. They're just above us. So if we win, we're gonna overtake them.
I mean, we're 4 for our last 5, and the 5th is a draw. They've won 2 of their last 5. I think Baroni is running into a little bit of trouble. I think that the magic is starting to settle. I think that Roma feels the need to do what Roma does and give everything for the one game of the season that still is like really the only thing that matters, right? The derby. So I think they're going to go out and win the derby. I think we win, and I think we win maybe not convincingly, but I think Ranieri, his history in the derby, the mindset he instills in the team, I think we go and win 3. But we're at the mercy of other teams and the results of other teams. That will determine where we move in the standings. But I'm confident in a win.
I mean,
We just have to keep winning.
looking at their lineup, I could tell you maybe 2 of their starting. Like, I don't even know. Like, the fact that they're doing this well is incredible.
Well, they're just playing their brand of football
with a bunch of guys who looks like they got them off the street.
Yeah, and like they don't
Well,
care about Champions League.
Zaccagni and Rovella are 2 consistent players for Lazio.
Yeah.
That's literally and Lazzari are the 3 that I know.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I mean, I guess Tavares, I've heard him, and that truly is. I have no idea who the rest of the players are.
Yeah, there's no pressure. I mean, Baroni's going out and starting Marusic, who's like one of the worst players in Serie A. There's zero pressure, zero.
I forgot they had Pedro.
Yeah,
little truck boy. I saw him at the Fendi store in Rome when I was there.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that.
I wanted to go up there and pinch his wiener and tell him he had a tiny wang, but he was with his wife, so I figured I'd back off.
Yeah. Well,
And
Peter, what do you think?
On my honeymoon, but anyways.
What are your thoughts on the derby?
I think with the derby, everything goes out the window.
Mm-hmm.
I think when we played them earlier this year, we were the heavy underdogs and we won. I think this time we're both in a tough spot. I think what you guys were just saying, that Lazio can be happy with any result. They have no real expectation to reach the Champions League. So they play with less pressure, ostensibly. That said, I don't make predictions for the derby because I don't want to jinx us.
Yeah.
So I will just leave it at that. That all conventional wisdom goes out the window for the derby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Christian.
I think first and foremost, a player like Paredes should be starting because he's crucial in a game like this. He's got a lot of fight in him. Obviously, Mancini should be starting. The last derby earlier this season, everyone, that was a time when Pellegrini was obviously not himself. There was a lot of speculation whether he was going to start or not, which he did. He scored a screamer. And then from that point on, we thought, is this a turning point? Clearly it wasn't. Would I start him this time? No. We just have to see how the game goes. But I say we start Shimoda, though, for sure. I don't really know. I think that there's not really an underdog in this game. I definitely say this is a time where it's 50-50 for sure.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just to we can end it on this note, but the last derby, where we won 1-0. Mancini scored in the first half off the corner.
Yeah, that header.
We won 1-0, and this is our third coach of that same season. So, if anything, you have to win.
Yeah, if we start the way we started last week, we have no chance.
No.
If we start the way we started against Monza, sure.
You have to.
I mean, that's the only way that you can approach these derbies is you have to come out firing. Can't
On
sit
all
back.
cylinders.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
And hopefully there's somebody in the locker room who knows. I mean, maybe Hummels knows what it takes to. I mean, I guess Paredes too, but somebody who rallies the troops and tells everybody to get their heads out of their ass. This is
Mancini.
extra.
Yeah, I think that's him.
Yeah, he stepped up last derby too. Hummels. Remember, he got into the face of
True.
what's his name?
Guendouzi?
Tati. No. That other.
Either ways.
Anyway, one of those weirdos.
He's the guy that should be stepping up this derby for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy's got nothing to lose. As soon as this season's done, he's done football. So he should be giving all that it takes. He fucking snaps his leg, so be it. Like
maybe that's Roma's next manager.
we need 3 points, man.
Anyway, it's hard. It's hard not to be romantic about the sport, and it's particularly difficult not to be romantic about the derby. So we hope for the best. You know, all form goes out the window. This is it. This matters. Give us something to be proud of. That's what we're asking for. So we want to thank you guys for listening. Of course, stay tuned for our next episode. But for now, thanks again and ciao.
Thanks to Peter, too. Thanks, Peter.
Ciao, ragazzi.
Roma.